Continuing with our innovation theme, I welcome to the stage Mr. Richard Clark, Chairman of the Grains Research and Development Corporation. New South Wales Farmers enjoys a close and fruitful relationship with the GRDC at many levels, both through our membership with Grain Producers Australia, which is a representative organisation for GRDC, and directly through our relationship with members of the board and senior executive team and liaison with the Northern Panel. Some of the delegates here attended a Grains Forum here in Sydney on Monday of this week. Richard is a farmer and a company director from Tooluna on the black soil floodplains of New South Wales, where he and his wife Barbara run an intensive 1,340 hectare specialist grain enterprise focusing on summer and winter cereals, pulses and oilseeds. He has extensive experience as a director and chairman of organisations in the agricultural sector, and more specifically in the grains industry. His experience includes the positions of founding chair of the New South Wales Farmers Grain Research Committee and chair of the Wheat Research Foundation of New South Wales. Richard has also served as a director on the board of Grain Foods CRC, a body set up to develop new markets for cereals and pulses and Quality Farms Australia, an early attempt to bring multiple agriculture industries together to form a whole of farm best practice management system. Please welcome Richard to the diocese.
Thanks, Derek. That was a very long introduction, but thank you very much for having me. I chair GRDC, as Derek said. I also chair the Council of Rural Research and Development Corporations, and so while I want to talk about GRDC, what GRDC does today, there are 15 rural RDCs, including AWI and MLA and Horticulture Australia. They're all with the same broad aims and the same broad systems for delivering. We've just heard two speakers talk about really specific parts of the current R&D effort. GRDC manages a portfolio estimated at $2.3 billion in value. We invest about $200 million a year, but we invest it right across the research needs of the grains industry. Innovation in agriculture is one of the central drivers of who we are and what we aim to do. GRDC's primary objective is to drive discovery and development and delivery of world-class innovation to enhance productivity, sustainability of the Australian grain grower for the benefit of the industry and for the wider community. At its core, GRDC is driving to increase grower profitability. This is reflected across our vision and our mission, our values and our strategies. Over the past 5 years, growers have been increasingly identifying GRDC and our research and development and extension as having direct benefits on their farms. Most recently, this equated to an 83% identification of benefit in a survey in 2015. We've committed to an ambitious goal of more than doubling grain grower profit by 2030. And recognise the need for leveraging really strong partnerships both at home and overseas in order to achieve a pretty ambitious target. GRDC is one of the leading grains research organisations, and that's thanks to 26 years of grower investment in GRDC. The fact of the matter is, though, that GRDC is still only a small part of the grains R&D world, and a small part of the grains world in terms of production. We were formed in 1990 and we're funded jointly by the federal government and levy payments from 25 crops right across the country. We pride ourselves in facilitating and disseminating adoption and commercialisation of our R&D for the benefit of the Australian grains industry. As I say though, for all that, we're 24% of all agricultural exports. We're a pretty small player in the world. Places like the US, Canada, Russia, the Ukraine, EU, France actually produces more wheat than Australia does. And it's pretty sobering when you start to look at that. But that does mean there's a huge R&D effort outside Australia that we ought to be able to tap into. Evidence of the way we're doing this is some of the latest investments we've made. The Herbicide Innovation Partnership with Bayer in Germany is a $45 million over 5 years investment from GRDC aimed at identifying new ways to break weed resistance in Australia. The main aim of the project, of course, is to find new herbicides because that's Bayer's great strength. We've also, though, as part of the deal, got right now 9 Australians and 2 New Zealand chemists into the Bayer labs to be trained by the best molecule discovery labs in the world. The whole deal will eventually have trained 30 postgraduate, postdoctoral chemists, and that will be an ongoing benefit to Australia. Another international collaboration to set growers at the forefront of world innovation will be the International Wheat Yield Partnership. GRDC is one of the 12 funding partners of IWIP, an initiative giving Australia a strong stake in the future sustainability of the grains industry worldwide. Globally, wheat is the most important staple crop, and population growth, changing diets and demand is expected to actually increase wheat demand 60% by 2050. To meet this demand, annual wheat yield increases need to grow from the current 1% per annum to 1.7% per annum. The IWIP initiative aims to lift wheat yield potential by up to 50% in 20 years. Wheat yield potential. The first round of research activity focuses on issues which are likely to be of strong interest to Australian growers. These include optimising plant architecture, modifying flowering time, optimising harvest index. That relates to frost, drought tolerance, harvestability. The GRDC is contributing more than $10 million over 3 years to fund the Australian contribution to IWIP. The grains industry has seen a significant growth in recent years, from 8.5 billion in 2009-10 to 13.1 billion per year in 14-15. Similarly, gains have been recorded in production terms and in terms of water use efficiency. This substantial growth, combined with the reduced investment in research and extension by state departments and the rise of the private sector's role in grains innovation, has seen GRDC's role grow in significance in the whole landscape of grains R&D. In recognition of industry feedback and as part of the ongoing efforts to encourage innovation in agriculture on home soil, the GRDC is undergoing a significant structural change and a significant process change. GRDC is in the process of increasing its presence at the local level. Many Canberra-based functions are now being dispersed amongst rural and regional offices at Toowoomba and Dubbo in the north, at Adelaide in the south, and Perth in the west. We've also altered our approach to investment opportunities and making investment decisions. From next year, we'll move to making annual project decisions to a cycle of continuous investment. We will have the agility required to quickly deliver solutions when and where they're needed, and in the best form for growers to use. Research projects will have agreed milestones that clearly reflect specified outcomes and determine the success of the projects at scheduled intervals. Payments will be linked to achieved milestones throughout the life cycle of the project, and the milestone achievements will be filtered through to industry for implementation as they happen. We aim to create an industry that is constantly adapting and in turn constantly working to better itself. GRDC is on the cusp of changes that will drive the next generation of RD&E in Australia and in the Australian grains industry. As we move through the next period and adopt our new way of working, we welcome the opportunity to better connect with you and your grower groups. We welcome feedback from New South Wales farmers, from our grower groups, from the New South Wales farmers grains industry, and from all the structures that GRDC has out in the field working continuously to identify growers' priority research areas. We welcome those efforts to spur innovation and excellence in the Australian grains industry. Innovation in Australian agriculture is what got us to where we are. We're a great industry. We've got a great history, and I think with participation, we'll have a great future. Thanks, Chairman.
Thank you.